High school teacher Colleen Ritzer is competent to stand trial. And with that decision, the judge says jury selection resumes tomorrow. Christina Hager was in the courtroom today.
At just 14 years old, Philip Chisholm shocked the nation with a crime so brutal that it left even hardened investigators speechless.
Chisholm is refusing to enter the courtroom. His lawyers say he's not competent to stand trial, and until that question is answered, jury selection is on hold.
On October 22, 2013 in Massachusetts, his math teacher, 24-year-old Colleen Ritzer, stayed after school to help him with lessons. Colleen was known for her kindness and her love for teaching. But that day, her compassion was met with unthinkable betrayal. Chisholm came prepared. He had a knife, gloves, and a change of clothes. He followed Colleen into a restroom, where he attacked and killed her. His cruelty did not stop there. After taking her life, he robbed and abused her, then dragged her body in a garbage bin behind the school in an attempt to hide his crime. Later that night, he even used her credit card to buy a movie ticket, as if nothing had happened. When police arrested him the next morning, he still had Colleen's blood on his hands. In court, the world saw a teenager who showed no remorse. Prosecutors described him as pure evil, while Colleen's family begged for the maximum sentence. His defense tried to argue mental illness, but the court was not convinced. In 2016, Philip Chisholm was sentenced to life in prison with a parole chance after 25 years. A bright young teacher lost her life, and a community was left grieving, forever scarred by the actions of a teenager who turned into a killer. Murder of teacher Colleen Ritzer was just 24 years old, a bright and caring math teacher who loved helping her students. On October 22, 2013, she stayed after class to give extra help to one of her 9th grade students, Philip Chisholm. What seemed like a normal act of kindness turned into tragedy. Chisholm, only 14 at the time, had already planned what he was going to do. He carried a knife, gloves, and even a change of clothes with him to school. After the lesson, he followed Colleen into the restroom. Inside, he carried out a horrific attack. He killed her with cold precision, then robbed and assaulted her. Not satisfied. As if this wasn't disturbing enough. Later that evening, Chisholm casually used Colleen's credit card to buy a movie ticket, showing no sign of guilt or fear. The next morning, police caught him still carrying the bloodstains of his crime. In court, his behavior shocked everyone. He was calm, expressionless, and completely unremorseful, even when Colleen's family begged for justice. The jury convicted him of first-degree murder, aggravated rape, and armed robbery. In 2016, the judge sentenced him to life in prison, with parole possible only after 25 years. Colleen's death devastated her family, her students, and her community, leaving behind a painful reminder of a teacher's kindness met with pure evil. When police tracked him down days later, Spencer was arrested and charged with 4 counts of attempted murder. In court, he tried to paint himself as more than the gangbanger prosecutors described, claiming he had made mistakes but wasn't the monster they said he was. Throughout the trial, he insisted he was innocent. But the jury didn't believe him. The evidence, the testimonies, and the nature of the crime were too strong. The judge delivered a crushing sentence, 40 years to life in prison. As the verdict was read, Spencer's reaction stunned the courtroom. He broke down, pleading for understanding. But the weight of his choices had already sealed his fate. What was supposed to be a night of fun for students became a night of fear, and Brandon Spencer's life was defined by violence, gangs, and one tragic decision that destroyed his future. Teens and guns in Ocoee, Florida. The community was shaken when 15-year-old Conrad Schieffer and his friends turned their neighborhood into a war zone. Armed with a semi-automatic rifle that Conrad had persuaded his father to buy, they roamed the streets, firing at homes and cars. For 2 terrifying weeks, families lived in fear as bullets tore through their quiet community. The violence reached its darkest point when Conrad fatally shot 17-year-old David Guerrero, who was simply on his way to work, and later invaded a home, killing 22-year-old Eric Rupnerine. When Conrad was finally caught, the full scope of his crimes came to light. Over 22 incidents of reckless gunfire, 2 murders, and countless lives shattered. In court, the young teen faced the families of his victims. He spoke quietly, offering apologies. "I know my apology don't mean nothing to you." His words did little to ease the pain. Eric Rupnerine's family refused forgiveness, saying no apology could erase such brutality. The judge agreed. He declared Conrad a danger to society, sentencing him to 2 consecutive life sentences. Had Conrad been just 3 years older, he could have faced the death penalty. His friends also faced charges, but it was Schaefer's actions with the gun that would haunt Ocoee forever. A teenager's reckless access to a firearm had turned a neighborhood into a battlefield and left families broken beyond repair. Cold court reactions. Courtrooms are often filled with tears, regret, and broken families, But some young offenders show none of that. One chilling example is 15-year-old Martis Fuller. In Wisconsin, Fuller broke into his ex-girlfriend's home and shot her in cold blood while her mother looked on in horror. At his trial, he sat emotionless, as if detached from the tragedy he caused. Even when the jury found him guilty of first-degree homicide, his face barely changed. Through his lawyer, he issued an apology to the family, claiming he once loved the girl he killed, but his lack of genuine remorse left the courtroom stunned. Jennifer Mee, once known as the Hiccup Girl, who appeared on national TV, also displayed shocking behavior. At 19, she lured a man into a trap where her friends robbed and killed him for just $50. In jail, a recorded call captured her speaking casually to her mother, showing no understanding of the crime's weight. She was later sentenced to life without parole, her coldness forever remembered. These cases remind us that some offenders are not only guilty of terrible acts but also of chilling detachment afterward. Judges, juries, and grieving families often watch in disbelief as killers act like their crimes mean nothing. The lack of remorse, the empty stares, and even mocking smiles reveal the darkest side of human nature: violence without conscience. Families in pain for every shocking crime. There are families left behind to carry unbearable grief. In case after case, their voices echo through the courtroom, pleading for justice. When Colleen Ritzer was murdered by her student Philip Chisholm, her father stood before the judge, describing the endless emptiness his family felt. He called his daughter's killer pure evil, demanding he never walk free again. His words shook the room, a father mourning the daughter who once inspired so many young lives. In Florida, the family of Eric Rupnerine spoke through tears as they faced Conrad Schaefer, the teen who killed him during a violent spree. His grandfather cried that Eric had been his helper, his support, and now he was gone forever. The family made it clear. No apology could erase the cruelty of the act. The pain was just as deep for the parents of victims like Nathan Potter, who was gunned down for no reason. His mother admitted she feared for her own life, even after his death, knowing the killers felt no remorse. In every trial, the families relived the violence, forced to see photos, hear details, and watch the killers sit calmly as though life meant nothing. Their impact statements remind us that behind every headline is a shattered family, holding on to memories while justice struggles to fill the void left by senseless loss. Life sentences given again and again, judges delivered the harshest punishment, allowed life in prison. For many young offenders, these sentences meant they would never walk free again. Philip Chisholm, who murdered his teacher Colleen Ritzer, was sentenced to life with parole possible only after 25 years. For a grieving family, even that seemed far too lenient. Conrad Schaefer, who went on a shooting spree and killed 2 people, received 2 consecutive life sentences, the judge making it clear that society needed protection from his violence. Martis Fuller, who murdered his ex-girlfriend in cold blood, was handed life without parole, the judge declaring him a danger who could never be trusted again. Jennifer Mee, the once famous Hiccup Girl, was also sentenced to life without parole for her role in a deadly robbery. Each case revealed the same pattern: a young life destroyed by crime, a victim taken too soon, and a judge forced to hand down the maximum penalty. Even Nicholas Cruz, who carried out the Parkland school massacre.